All right, here we are live on Cashflow Canucks. It is December the 14th. Today I have Neil Twa. He is the CEO of Voltage Digital Marketing. He's been, we're going to get deep into this really. I want to understand really what he does more so, but we're talking about Amazon FBA, how he's helping build businesses, create freedoms for people. We talked about this before, and let's dive right in. Neil, thanks for joining.
Yeah, Peter, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, man. Excited to be
Yeah,
here.
tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your origin story? How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, I'll make the caveat before I get going that if you hear any chickens in the background, it's because I do live on a 40-acre homestead, and the mic sometimes pick up the chickens in the background. So that's just part
There
of
you
my
go.
style now in the country. I didn't always start that way. I grew up in a cul-de-sac and lived in mainly cities my entire life until I met a country girl who kind of changed my heart, and we moved out into the country, and I found my roots in the dirt, my soul and my peace. In working the land that I never really fully understood was a part of me. I just finally embraced that as we moved out here, and I've spent 9 years now in the country on this homestead. But prior to that, I was in the cul-de-sac, as I mentioned. I grew up in Oregon, and my dad was a hardworking guy and worked at the plant down there. Retired there from about 25, 26 years at that position, but he taught me a lot about work and ethic, and I had a side hustle doing lawns and making some money for myself. We weren't poor, but we weren't extremely well endowed money wise. And so when I needed money and I wanted to do something, I started my own little hustle and to make money and mow lawns, and ended up with like 20 people that were mowing lawns. And so that gave me the money I needed through, high school to do the things I wanted to do. And always had that kind of flair for entrepreneurialism a little bit. My uncle was a big into entrepreneurial, started a boat company, and I got to see a lot about both sides of how that world lived. And it's my own little rich dad, poor dad story, if you will. And he taught me a lot about the business and opportunity and thinking big. I did go to college, but I dropped out. I call it the entrepreneurial death throes because I spent 3 years, failed out twice. Not sure why I really wanted to be there. Honestly, I wanted to go be a fighter pilot. I had gone to enlist in the Navy, and they wouldn't take me, and the Air Force wouldn't take me. I was not the right fit for it. And so I said, well, shoot, I guess I'm going to college. I had a music scholarship, and I was going to play jazz and classical. And so I went out to do that. Internet was coming online, not to date myself, 95 was coming on. The universities were getting all the computers, and it was a very exciting time. So much change, so much thing was happening, and nobody really knew what they were doing. And so we just rolled up our sleeves and started building these machines and playing with the networking and just learning how the whole thing worked, and discovered I kind of had a passion for that technology component of it, and really was interested in how you make all of that work and how people could make money with it. I really was fascinated by that whole thing. And so, realization was that I needed to get a job because I really was not going to make it through the rest of university, because I just knew that it was going to kill me. It was too confining, too much process, too much flow. And I, having, again, background in musician, jazz was one of my favorite styles, and with Wynton Marsalis and Miles Davis and these guys as my mentors, if you will, from music. The free flowing energy and the creativity and innovation of jazz was part of who I became and am now in terms of the way I think about life and business gave me that opportunity to innovate and create and free flow, and not have to follow a script. And so I knew that I wanted to be in e-com. I knew I wanted to be in business. I knew I wanted to take advantage of internet and technology. And so I had to jump out and rode the corporate wave for over a decade. You mentioned in our green room conversation, you were at IBM. I was at IBM previously until 2007. As a global business consultant, we were working on human machine language learning, artificial intelligence, and learning for the customer support, high tech, and mobile industries that I spent a lot of years in. I went from Sprint to IBM in the mobile industry, got to watch that explode enormously, from the very first brick phone that we helped to launch to all the devices and things that just exploded so fast over that decade. And really found I had a passion for the business more so than the technology. So I found myself in IBM doing a lot more of the business work, leveraging the knowledge and infrastructure of these systems and communications and this knowledge management and the learning and the adaptability of the technology, which was so fascinating. And it really helped me understand a different way of doing business, because we were kind of building companies within companies on IBM's dime, and I was helping to lead that up. And so it got to be really fascinating. I eventually left IBM and made them a client. And so they ended up paying me a lot more money as a consultant than when I was an employee. And I remember the first contract I got on with the partner after I left about 6 months later, he called me up and said, "Hey, I need you to come save this project. It's falling apart." And I just, on a whim, I just said, "Great, here's my price." It was about 10 times more than they paid me per an hour. And I thought, what the heck, why not? And he said, "Absolutely. When can you be there?" And I thought, wow, that's interesting. So that kind of launched my business career. I got a multiple clients after that. Still trying to figure out the whole internet thing and how I could monetize it. I played with game server companies for a while. I got my kicks playing on games before it was cool. We built up a VoIP service out of Texas and had thousands of customers who were using VoIP connections to do multiplayer gaming before it was built into the games. I'm really aging myself as I talk this out. But we learned how the technology was making money online, and it was very fascinating. Before that game space really exploded and the game started to adapt VoIP into it. But I got into affiliate marketing, and it really taught me about lead generation and the practicalities of arbitraging traffic for profit. I was doing installs and dating apps and all this stuff, and really found I cut my teeth in it because I understood the numbers and I understood the gut intuition, which again, I think came back to that musical component of gut and the feeling in the music jazz, and knowing the syncopations and the rhythms and the technicalities of it kind of flowed into the business. And I got very successful at media buying, specifically on mobile technologies, sending dating offers. And one of my big ones was into South Africa. It was fun to watch that happen. But it got me into the understanding of the physical product because I was helping drive traffic for companies as an affiliate who had physical products. And I thought to myself one day, I need to be developing this. In the process of doing that, I'd gotten very leveraged into another company in the oil and gas industry in Oklahoma for a brand new technology, a patented based technology that I was a partner in helping develop. And in the end of that, I discovered one day the books were being double cooked. I had leveraged myself too far into the business, and the lawyers basically said, "Hey, here's your indemnification notice as well as your bankruptcy in order to keep you out of any investigations because it's going to go there." So I thought, wow, great. Now I'm reinventing myself, starting over again, right? I got to do this again and see what happens. And while I was trying to figure out what to do, and if I wanted to go back into affiliate and kind of wanted to get back into some of the stuff that I was doing prior to that venture, somebody had mentioned, a friend of mine actually had mentioned he was selling stuff on Amazon. And I thought, well, if it's anything like eBay, I don't want anything to do with it. He said, no, it's not anything to do like eBay. They have this thing called Fulfilled by Amazon. They do what's called last mile to the customer, which you and I all recognize now as clicking the mobile phone and it shows up at our doorstep, every 2 days or every hour. And our wives and significant others and some of our friends obviously love to do that. And there's a lot of money to be made in it, but I didn't recognize you could sell on it until he brought that to my attention. What I saw was a giant technology, a similar type of engine that we had built in the IBM days. I saw the knowledge it was learning and the way it was talking and searching and getting people to products. And then I saw the opportunity with the branding and the product stuff that I hadn't really taken advantage of to the level I wanted to take advantage of in the past. And I thought, hey, we should start launching products on this system and see what happens. And all of a sudden, the gates opened up. And from bankruptcy to printing money in a year is literally what happened. We were just running so many products on Amazon, we couldn't keep up with it. We were building products, building brands. Eventually, 8 companies were built out of those products and brands. A couple of them are still running to today. So there's a longevity play definitely in e-commerce. And we used that model of e-com, and we chose Amazon because it was a giant traffic source. It was like a marketing source. It was people, and most people didn't understand what the heck they were doing. And it was like, it still is to some degree shooting fish in a barrel, because there's a lot of people who sell on Amazon who really don't understand the system. They don't understand branding. They don't understand the marketing. And there's a lot of products on Amazon with third-party sellers. In fact, there's over 2.5 million of them. 70% of Amazon sales are third-party sellers and small businesses. And I don't think everybody understands that. But when I fully came to grasp that 9 years ago, we took hold of that and we built a system around it. My partner and I built processes. We built a technology to help to deploy it, and we built a business around it. And then we taught other people how to do it. As we got successful with our stores, we started to show some other friends and family and people who were connected to us how they could do it. And as they got success, that kind of gained momentum. Until we started teaching more and more people. We've taught thousands of people now. We've made over 50 people millionaires. We've sold over 100 million in sales on FBA. We've got software and technologies and business coaching and mentoring and stuff now, and as an encompassed around the whole Voltage system. We've kind of hedgehogged now into this business model of e-commerce, and just choosing Amazon as a way to validate and launch those brands very quickly. See if they win, and then scale them from there. And then we can take them out into other channels, other sources, other marketplaces, other traffic sources, retail and arbitrage and wholesaling and all kinds of other stuff can come out of those brands that really move it beyond Amazon as a single channel business, which turns it into a real opportunity.
Amazon is well, is what it is, right? But I think the key to that is it's a network that is completely accessible to anyone, really, right?
It is, yeah, and it's a technology. Let's give it, what it is. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I think so many people get caught up in the technology, thinking that if I push the buttons or if I just work more hours, I can make more money on Amazon, and that's what I call a lottery mindset mentality. The idea that I kind of just scratchers, right, and then I'm going to hit it big. There's work to be done, and there's business to be made, and you have to apply yourself to it. When you're doing the right revenue generating activities, you can do it in less time. You can make it what we call almost automated income. It doesn't have to take up your entire life. You can build the empire, you can cash flow it. And then what we have learned to do now is exit those brands. We either acquire them or exit them through our portfolios group, because there's a big market. And as you and I were discussing, there's now 42 Amazon aggregators that have popped up in the last 24 months. To date, I was reading yesterday, over 12 billion have been deployed into purchasing businesses on this channel. It's fully realized and matured. People think Amazon might be just a side hustle or a hobby business type of game, but not based on the $12 billion that are being deployed into buying those companies that are Amazon channels. This is a real business. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so just go back to basics in terms of the
Absolutely.
products that you've sold through Amazon, and that is it. Are you sticking to a niche, or do you have different brands that are selling different things? How did you get into
How
that
did you get?
part
Yeah,
of it?
well, we started arbitraging first. We started buying low, selling high, and we started that arbitrage game to test the products and really see what the system was doing and how we could utilize it, understand it, and leverage it. And that was basically, again, finding a product that would be bought for, say, $10, and we could sell it for 50. And we'd make the difference, and we'd sell out the units that we could get available, and we would just do that again and again. What we started to recognize, though, was the real understanding that most e-commerce business owners should grasp at some point, or should gain knowledge of right now, if they're thinking about ever getting it started. And that is building a brand with the end in mind, which is the whole business. And the exit of that business is worth way more than any time during the building of that business and that business building phase. Yes, they can
Mm,
cash flow and they can be profitable, but when I can exit a business in 12 to 18 months, it'll bring me 2 years worth of income back in at the time of exit. I can then redeploy that capital even faster into another niche. We call it, as you mentioned, what do you sell, or what could you sell, or that kind of stuff. We call that what the hell to sell. It's the question that, I don't know what to sell. There's so much opportunity, but there really is so many products that you can sell. It's really a definition of understanding the criteria of what I should sell, not that I could sell something. It's a totally different way of looking at this. Yes, you can sell anything. You can sell all things to all people on that system. And even Bezos likes to brag. You can do all that in 30 seconds or less. The real opportunity is to understand, what should I sell? What's the criteria for that, right? And we call that going by the numbers, because this is a business built on numbers. It is a business built on 90-day run rates, cash flows, and annual incomes, EBITDA, and profit margins, right? It's built on real business metrics. And because of that, we're looking for a specific type of product. And it's probably easier to tell you what I don't sell in than to tell you what I have or do sell in. And that is, we don't sell in electronics, we don't sell in supplements, and we don't sell in clothing. Those are niches that are either oversaturated, highly competitive, or there's a lot of complexities in the business model that don't really give it that lifestyle opportunity. And that's a big component of what's so much fun about these business models, because you're leveraging that fulfilled by Amazon or that FBA infrastructure. I don't have to have big warehouses in my, I don't have to put this stuff in my garage unless I'm just validating the product, at which point I'm sending it to Amazon's warehouses. I don't have to deliver last mile to customer from the logistics component. And even a lot of the customer support is handled by Amazon. There's a big component in a symbiotic relationship when you partner with Amazon as a seller, that they do for you. Now, there's cons to that. And I'm sure people might be thinking, yeah, I was on YouTube and I heard somebody say, well, Amazon steals your products and closes your account down. Well, if you're running retail arbitrage, if you're doing wholesaling, if you're not actually private labeling with brand assets and intellectual property and trademarks, you can be a victim of the system just like anybody else anywhere else. Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean Amazon is going to steal it. It means another product owner could take it from you too. And there's a couple of stories passed around, and they get on YouTube and they become this legend of how Amazon steals your products. But Amazon takes opportunity like any other brand seller would do, like we kind of do when we go in the market and look for product opportunities, and they have to fit this number criteria and profitability matrix that we have called our green light spreadsheet. They have to fit a certain criteria and a profitability and a run rate expectation and a sales velocity and propensity for upside potential in the brand and the product itself. And we are looking at other people's products to help determine that, because we don't invent in Amazon, we innovate. It's a very different approach, right? We can innovate against existing products. We don't have to create the next biggest whiz bang thing that nobody's ever heard of. We have to create a better innovation on an existing product. And quite honestly, it's not too difficult to look at that when you're looking at it through the right eyes. When you see what we call the white cars, you go down to the store and you're wanting to buy a car and you're looking at all these cars and you decide you want the white one. It's the top selling color. That tells you where a lot of us are. we all like white cars. And you go down and pick out that car, and it's the best car ever. You've wanted it. You get the thing done. You pay cash or get your loan or whatever. And as you're driving off the lot, what happens? You see another one. It's sitting over there. You didn't see it before when you first drove in, right? And then you see the third one sitting at the other lot, and you're like, well, I didn't see that thing when I drove in. And then on the 15-minute drive home, guess what? You see 5 more of the same white cars that you're driving. And you're wondering to yourself, how did I miss that? Like, why didn't I see that? And it's a shift in perception. It's a shift in your reality for a moment. It always existed. You just simply didn't see it. You had a blind spot. And one of the techniques to answering that question, which literally resonates from a profitable product to seeing that product that you didn't see before, all the way through the profit and loss statement of an actual brand that runs, is to see the innovations and the opportunities and the familiarity and similarity of those products in the marketplace, and simply innovate a slight difference in it. And using the trust of Amazon's system, you can launch a brand no one's ever heard of. You can launch products no one's ever seen inside of Amazon and gain the trust and authority of that platform to prove that that product and brand is in demand, that you can sell it for higher and more profitability, and that it has a huge upside potential to scale it very quickly. And very quickly to me is $1 million a month. And we've done that with companies in 4 months. And you can do it to $5 million a month in 12 months if you're really dedicated to the process. So it's a huge opportunity to leverage those brands and that entire ecosystem that's there.
Your marketplace, is it predominantly in the US?
Predominantly in the US. We don't sell in the other marketplaces. There is so much opportunity just in the United States. I have a saying in the country I like to tell everybody here: is you can't ride 2 horses with one ass. And so at the end of the day, everybody tries to ride too many horses, and they do no good at it whatsoever, because they usually just fall off. I teach people how to go out and in 12 months leverage a single system, single point of focus till a single result is achieved. And once that occurs later on, they can adapt new marketplaces, new strategies, and other ways of generating income for that brand once they have adapted the system that we teach, the game plan that we teach, because more than enough money is there for most people to gain more than a lifestyle income and more in a month than most people make in a year by just simply following the process inside that one system. It's the idea of scarcity and abundance. The question doesn't come necessarily from a scarcity place, but someone may be listening to this and thinking there's not enough opportunity. They shut you down. There's not enough products to sell. I can't do it profitably. And those are all simply just part of the narrative of a lie. I'm not sure who's telling it. Maybe they want to sell you something else. Maybe they want to get you to buy something. I don't know. But the end result is there's more than enough opportunity in the marketplace to sell products where you can make a lot of money. Our average builders make $35 to $55 in profit per unit. That's after Amazon fees, costs, PPC, marketing, cost of goods for the product, and of course, any mechanisms or mechanics that are required to make that work. That's pretty good profit per unit. And when you're moving 500, 1,000 or more of those a month, that's a pretty good income, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, no. And so what does the process look like in terms of getting engaged with your company? How do you find a right fit for you guys are right fit, or they're right fit for you? What are the kind of requirements?
Yeah, so Voltage is really geared to take somebody who is either been in the market and hasn't quite hit their next level. You know, they've kind of tapped out at a certain amount of revenue, or they feel the market isn't making them enough profit or opportunity, or they're simply brand new and they're looking to leverage things like you and I talked about earlier, infinite banking concepts. They're looking to deploy capital from other ventures if they're into multifamily or real estate, or they have franchises and they're looking to deploy capital and been thinking about it for the last 2-3 years or whatever about how to start an e-com division and wondered about the time and energy and money it would take. So Voltage has really been set up to curate to people at that audience level. We have a business coaching. It's invite only. Everyone speaks to me. I'm looking for a certain aptitude of person, not just a monetary interest, but an interest in the business, a likeliness that they are going to succeed in this model because expectations are matched up. So we have people go through and they go through an evaluation with me, a bunch of questions, literally to validate that they have the interest, aptitude, not just the money to do this type of business model. And more importantly, that they've kind of made the choice and decision to be in e-commerce. They just haven't found the right vehicle to get into. And when they see the opportunity to partner with us in that business coaching and they see the skin in the game model we put together, which means that while they work with us, they don't pay for all of the services up front. They pay for it as we reach performance goals together, because we're very confident and we act in sort of a franchise-like capacity. If you let me explain that for a minute, we're not a franchise. We don't take ownership when we partner, and we don't take profit sharing. We let people leverage our infrastructure, and we usually let about 10 to 15 people do it at a time as we roll them through the process of ensuring that the graphics, the sourcing agents, the products, everything follows this game plan. It's called our 5x5 game plan. And so I want to make sure people are willing to follow that they understand the 10 to 15 hours a week that they're going to have to deploy, the kind of capital and time they're going to take, but how we're going to work with them over that 12 months to ensure that it works. Now, 6 months of that is heads down training, launching, and speed to revenue. It's really very important. And so we, again, work with people to exit the company. What's my big, hairy, audacious goal? What's my evil capitalistic agenda? What's in it for me? People say, well, if you can't, if you have all this experience in source, why don't you go run a bunch of these companies? And I always answer with, well, who says I'm not? I am doing it to scale. What I like to do is take some people along inside of us and come alongside of us and be able to do this with us and see how to replicate it, because I don't want to spend 1,000 hours a week doing all this myself. And I run a lifestyle business in the way that this is done. And I don't want to jeopardize my family or time. And I don't need to work with anybody that I don't want to work with. So I'm looking for the right kind of people that fit in to the culture that Voltage creates and the opportunity to take this brand out and exit it through our network, our portfolios group. We have hedge fund offices involved. We got accredited investors. We got home offices and folks who are individual investors that want to buy these companies because they want Voltage to manage it. Okay, so what's in it for me? The opportunity to help broker those businesses to the relationships, in which we get paid a brokering fee for that. The brand has upside potential and operational independence, in which Voltage can manage that business and, in essence, exit the owner prior to the exit. So a little bit of a reverse strategy than you might see in the market. And then take that business to the investor and say, hey, look, here's a passive income that's going to level up. Voltage can manage that. You will need to deploy capital and follow along with these activities. We're going to do these things in a managed services contract. And then in the next 18 months, we're going to exit this to a new tier. We're going to reach the next tier. If it's a business that's doing $1 million a month, we're going to reach 3 to 5 million a month. If it's doing 3 to 5 million, we're going to go 5 to 10, and we're going to exit to the next level. So there's always an upside potential for these brands to be grown and exited. That's how Voltage works through the whole process, from cradle to grave, if you will. But we do it select, invite only, and everyone needs to kind of have a chance to qualify and understand what we're doing. Because I can't help everyone. I'm not trying to help everyone. I realize that that's not possible, but I know there are some good people out there where time and money has been a concern. We address those issues with each of our builders. They're all usually high net worth individuals and families and partner relationships that come in and want to do this. Even kids. We have 14 and 16-year-olds in here working with their parents who are homeschooling and learning how to build their own companies, their alternative to educations, their wealth without Wall Street opportunities. To build these businesses and teach them learnable skills in trades that can literally make them more in a month than they would make if it took them 4 years to graduate from a degree. And they see that opportunity, and that's a path they've chosen to take.
What's your, it sounds like you've got all the processes built out. You've got all the relationships built out. What's the next step evolution of what you do?
So my next step in evolution is really, yeah, I mean, it's ultimately to look at trying to pull 2 to 3 closes per quarter for our business. That means we pulled enough people through the launching and growth of that brand that it's met the criteria for a market exit. Okay, and a market exit in Amazon's world today could be 3 to 4x based on the profitability. That's the EBITDA and the net profit. You can get a 3 to 4x. If the business is ran very well and it follows our processes, it will achieve that without somebody working 80 hours a week to do it. That's creating a lifestyle opportunity for exit. I would like to see more people achieve that in the next year, and that we are able to close 2 to 3 of those per year in that exit strategy as my kind of growth initiative for Voltage. At somewhere down the line, I would envision, if I plan to retire, which I don't know that I will, but life is what it is. I may exit to one of those aggregators at some point with a pretty good portfolio of people.
Very nice. And what I guess in terms of what's happening with Amazon, like have you built the processes so you're able to adapt to a lot of all those things you talked about, people complaining about Amazon's going
Oh
to
yeah.
take over brand and all this stuff. You guys have, I think it's so key to be have systems and processes in place to be able to adapt to that. Can you talk about how you're set up that way and how you're able to deal with the typical things that people can maybe complain about, but how you're able to use it as leverage for yourself?
Well, I mean, it's not fair for people to come on podcast and say, everything is blue sky with Amazon or e-com or products or physical product inventories and not address the real things about the business model. Okay. In total transparency. Yes, there is a sourcing challenge going on right now. Okay. In full transparency. And we all face it, regardless of if you're online or offline retail or you're running your own small store or you're running on Amazon, there's a supply chain challenge that has occurred. Okay. Now, in every challenge, there's opportunity. It just depends upon where you're at in the business or where you're at in the experience to mitigate that, right? The famous saying, if there's blood in the streets, there's money to be made. And right now, there's blood in the streets for physical product and inventory. On a daily basis, we're dealing with logistics and inventory. But I'll tell you what, it's the biggest opportunity ecom has right now for anybody who's in the game, because the other businesses who are not overcoming that, they're not smart, they don't have a great logistics management system and process in place, are running out of inventory. And because they're running out of inventory, they're creating giant holes of opportunity in the marketplace. And for those who have that and have been in there long enough and have the history and experience, connections, network, and the risk management components of any business already in place, we teach our builders how to overcome that. We take them to our sourcing and supply agents and manufacturers who are delivering product in time, and we'll teach them how to mitigate certain things. It's, there are more ports in the United States than LA and Long Beach, but most people, that's all they're hearing about. But there are a lot of other ports to bring product into that are not facing the same backlogs. Shipping times and logistics being what they are, some instances, air freight is cheaper than sending it on the sea. And so some cases we're actually air freighting products when before we used to ship them. And because we're operating at a certain level of product criteria, as I mentioned earlier, when we go by the numbers and we're looking at those products down, and we got 47 data points we're tracking on each product to ensure their profitability, the marketing campaigns and the logistics and supply chain don't eat up all that profit. It means we're operating at a different place in the market. What I refer to as the Amazon's mosh pit down here, where everybody is after the best choice badges and all this, marketing nonsense you hear on YouTube and stuff. I call it Amazon's mosh pit. It's because it's the sweaty, nasty place where everybody slams into each other, and nobody really wants to be in there with a 6'4" guy who just got off his hog and is beating the crap out of everybody. And that's kind of how it feels for a lot of sellers. We play at an affinity level. Our brands are usually selling an average of $100 or more. In retail price point, our profitability margins are more than 40%, giving our net income a much higher percentage of each unit sold, giving us the competition component of the marketing aspect to go in and really approach these brands effectively by buying customers and staying as a premium brand at a different level within Amazon's marketplace. Okay. And by also having the income necessary and the profit necessary to overcome some of these shipping container costs. The shipping container costs have gone up a lot. And when you're moving a 40-foot container that 2 years ago cost $4,000 and today costs $16,000, many people can't do that, right? And because we have been able to do that, we've stayed in the market and stayed profitable. We know that this is a bit of a storm to hedge. Like in any business situation, there's always ebbs and flows, and sometimes things go up and challenges happen, but they don't always stay there. And, many of my ecom friends who I consult with, who do a lot of business in a lot of different ways, and we're talking about 7, 8, 9 figures in revenues every year, all know that this will not sustain. It will, and things are changing. Amazon, in fact, has launched its own shipping container business as just recently. They've also arranged a fleet of ships to do that, as well as a bunch of planes that they're now organizing to deliver themselves. So they are going to innovate out of that market and away from the challenges that are others that are in there. They've even shortened payout times for sellers recently who have good seller account status. We got notified of that. And, I see what's coming next. They're going to notify top seller accounts who are doing great products, great business, and good profit margins and are brand driven. Make no mistake, they'll have to be brand driven, registered, and trademarked. I foresee Amazon giving those people preferred shipping. And because of that, they're going to be even more dominated in the market. And this is where we're positioning our builders for the coming year, is to get into those positions and take advantage, because that is opportunity. In the blood in the streets, that's going to become the opportunity. The amount of product we can move compared to our competitors. And so logistics and components, yes, that's all some of the nasty stuff that has to be dealt with. the times and delays and the coordination and efforts of that. But make no mistake, we do this business, we're doing it every day, and we're moving 40-foot containers. And because we're doing that well, our builders are doing it well as well. And with everybody staying in inventory, we're really starting to dominate the marketplace. We even have a service, an MVP, we call it most valuable product service. We give it to our new builders. It's in beta right now. And because we're going to launch it this year in a little bit more stronger capacity, we're working with people to basically pick their node inside of Amazon. You're a technology guy, and there's a taxonomy inside of Amazon. It's just departments and categories and nodes. And in the marketing world, it's called niche. There's about 13,000 of those we've identified in our data mining since 2014. They contain products that meet our criteria for profitability, sales, and for this explosive growth that we've experienced in our brands and our customer brands. And because of that, we have so much data. And we're taking people into those nodes and literally giving them an exclusive on the node along with the products, a monthly service to rent that and make it exclusive so that another builder does not come in and compete with them. See, we're not really worried about the people in those nodes who are selling brand X, Y, and Z over here. What I'm most worried about is one of my builders competing with another builder, because we go in to dominate that niche. And when we're in there, we're going to stay there. We're going to stay there until we own it and then exit that brand. And so we give this opportunity. It saves time by basically picking a product in like one day with a node that we help you select and get your brand ready and launch it. And then all the products are in there. You pick one, go to my sourcing agent, get to the manufacturing, test the samples, launch the product, do it again. It happens very fast in weeks. And we give people the opportunity to do in weeks what most are taking months to do.
Awesome. Well, Neil, I really appreciate you sharing all this. I know you've gone through everything from the logistics, the processes, the technology, all this stuff, but we didn't even cover off what I think what the big differentiator for you is your mindset. Really, taking away a lot of that friction, thinking abundantly, knowing that you can build something. If there's an obstacle, it becomes, technically leverage. It becomes an opportunity. And yeah, so as a takeaway, maybe if you can share with the community how they can get in touch with you, follow more about what you do, and see if there's potentially something a fit.
Yeah, well, if you're really interested in learning about the model and then determining whether or not it's a model you might want to do, and if possible, Voltage might be in a position to help you should you decide to do that, go to voltagedm.com. That's voltagedigitalmarketing.com, voltagedm.com. Get the click started button. There's a free training on. It's about a 48-minute training with myself and Kevin Harrington, where we break down the model and show you how we've been able to explode these brands, what the process and the business looks like, what the investment and the cost opportunities look like, as well as the pros and cons. It's all broken down. It's a free training. If it sounds interesting to you, there's a calendar invite down below. Once you do book, if you do book, you're going to hear from me first, and we're going to qualify each other. And if it's great to get on that call and continue the convo, we will. It's a very simple process, but I do set the right level of expectations with the right people from the very beginning.
Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you again, Neil, for sharing your story, and look forward to hearing more about your future successes.
I appreciate it. Thank you and I'm honored to be on today, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.